ECP EDX monitoring, and there are several applications which can be used for setting up monitoring of ECO-SP applications. The first one is JMX and usage of hot.io module. This is described in ECP Administration Guide Chapter 522. So if I move it. Yeah, so there is a guide how to deploy hot.io to ECP application. You have to download web application from Internet Maven repository, and then you will deploy it to web apps directory of Tomcat application. Also, you need to set up some roles which will have access to hot.io web interface, and one of necessary step is also enable JMX, which actually can be some security issue for some parties. Nevertheless, this access to JMX can be limited just to localhost, just to IP address of that server. And if we open hot.io, so on the ECP endpoint where hot.io is deployed, we will just remove this ECP_module context, and we will switch to hot.io context. And here we can see, for example, overview of all messaging queues of internal broker, of internal active MQ. And in case, for example, for troubleshooting, we can see if all messages are processed from each queue, and also if the messages are enqueuing and dequeuing from these queues. That's one of most useful interface for troubleshooting, which we are using in Unicorn. Then we can as well connect by Jolokia to this hot.io. So then it can be monitored also by REST API calls. And if I move to JMX, which are now provided in web interface, by default, when you enable JMX and do not install hot.io, you can access all of these metrics by your own, by some JMX client. Usually, we were using Nagios for checking these JMX metrics, but with hot.io you can access it on web interface, and also you can be able to obtain the result by calling some REST URL, which can be obtained from hot.io. ECP endpoint in this case implements some business metrics, and they are messaging metrics and component directory metrics. In component directory metrics, there are methods or operations which can inform us about the status of ECP endpoint and about its certificate, if they will go to expire early or the date of the expiration. And also the status of message path, for example, or useful synchronization status if your ECP endpoint is synchronized with this component directory in last 10 minutes. Then the second part are messaging metrics, which are more dedicated for checking of the messages in ECP endpoint. So we can see if endpoint is connected to brokers or to which brokers it is not connected. Also, we can see the number of sent messages, which is overall number. That's clean endpoint, so not much messages was sent. And also we can see messages which are waiting to deliver to other parties. So these such messages are not confirmed by business application of the receiver that they were received. And also we can see if our business application is consuming messages. So that's waiting to receive messages. More details about all of these checks and information what they provide is available in administration guides. Okay, with JMX we can also monitor all other Java-related topics. It's just necessary to find out what is useful to be monitored of Java process. And regarding this monitoring of metrics, we also provided, or CGM program has some Excel list of metrics which should be monitored by service providers, so RSEs, and also by data providers, TSOs. If we look into OPD monitoring client, we can see here detailed implementation for Nagios monitoring system, and also in each list or each sheet we can see which checks are recommended to be configured in TSO's monitoring systems. So here we can see, for example, check for existing of Java heap dump file, which is checked on the hard drive itself. So here are not just checks regarding ECP endpoint, but there are all recommended checks also for hardware and as well as for ECP service check. And also there is a part for ECP JMX metrics. In the bottom, in the sheets, you can see that there are also other applications which were provided with some recommended metrics. So it can be useful to implement it. Of course, if you are using Nagios, it's easier. If you are using other monitoring systems, it could be more tricky, but at least there are some recommendations what metrics is useful to be checked. The last part, and let's say the newest part in ECP EDX is implementation of Prometheus or ECP to provide information to Prometheus in its semantic. This is described as well in ECP and EDX administration guides, and we can check on the server how it is configured on Prometheus side. So we are on server where Prometheus is running, and the configuration itself, as it is described in administration guide, is just simple, because it's let's say 10 rows in Prometheus YAML file. So we are defining some job name for Prometheus to check some URL, and this URL is ECP module/Prometheus for ECP 4.7.2 and older, and for new ECP it's ECP module actuator Prometheus. Then we are defining that we are using HTTPS for connection, so it's secure, and also we are providing username and password for authentication to ECP module web page, and of course IP address of running ECP endpoint. In ECP properties, we need to configure to generate or to make available such metrics for Prometheus. So we are adding just 2 lines in ECP properties, and these are the lines. So we are providing info, health, and Prometheus part to the API. And if we look into Prometheus itself, so in configuration, we can display what is configured. These are default values, and there is the same configuration which was filled in previously in the server. And in targets, we can see that both ECP endpoints are running, and that Prometheus is consuming these pages. And if I open it, we will see in what, okay, first I need to log in. So we will see that ECP endpoint is providing monitoring metrics in Prometheus semantic. So when Prometheus got this data, they can be configured to be visible in graphs in Prometheus and in alerts, but there is Grafana, which is another application which has more or better user interface for displaying such metrics, and also you can create your own dashboard. Here we have some template dashboard where are some of the metrics which can be obtained from ECP endpoint, and we can see better graphs here than in Prometheus, and also there are better graphs than, for example, in Nagios. So we can see here the same metrics as are as were mentioned in Hotail BART. The first were connectivity dashboard, the second part is messaging dashboard, and in the last part there are metrics regarding operation system itself, so or hardware. So we can see CPU usage and uptime of ECP endpoint, system load, and for example, number of open files, which are useful to see in case you are using Derby database. Also, we can see the total number of sent messages and of received messages, and also it's possible to gather statistic how many error logs are in ECP endpoint log in last 24 hours, or the time period can be configured. Based on this, you can also create some alerting dashboards and configure alerts, for example, in case that your ECP endpoint is not connected to any broker, it will arise notification. And it's also for all other metrics available. Any other or any questions regarding monitoring of applications? For EDX, it is in a similar way. So I will not show it. I will just show it for ECP.